Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Show Notes. I got a little bit of the that feedback going on there. I love hearing my own work in my ears, so it's amazing. We are welcoming today the members from the Lyrical Groove, an award-winning spoken word hip hop group here in San Diego that will be performing at the Museum of Making Music tomorrow night, Friday, May 20th at 7 p.m. Lyrical Groove, they are an award-winning band out of San Diego. They won Best Hip Hop at the San Diego Music Awards in 2013, and then the next year they won Best Hip Hop Album for their full-length album Spoken Soul, and then they have a music video already out called Wake Up, inspired by the movie Get Out, that debuted about 4 years ago, and now they've got another album in the works that they're wrapping up. But today we welcome the band leader, or the co-band leader, I should say, Kendrick Dial, musician, poet, band leader, so he's driving this train, and then also a social worker and a community advocate. And so we're going to be jumping into today with our discussion with our special guest, San Diego vocalist Deneen Wilburn, who has been our wonderful performer many times at the Museum of Making Music. So this is something they're going to share in common, having performed on our stage, and we're excited to welcome everyone to our show today. It is a live show, so feel free to ask questions. We'll pass those along to our guests, and let's have a wonderful time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Show Notes. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Hey, BJ.
Hey. I'm so glad to see you guys, and I'm so glad to meet you, Kendrick. We're tremendously excited about tomorrow night's concert. It's going to be a blast. So let me turn over the conversation to you guys, and we'll keep rolling.
Well, what's up, my guy? How you doing?
I'm good. I was so happy when I heard that you were going to be the person I get to talk to. So
I was happy too when they asked me. I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know that I've had the opportunity to really. I mean, we've known each other for a while, and we've worked, some of the same shows. We've been together, and our paths, keep crossing. But I don't know that we've ever really had a chance to sit down and really talk. I'm always super excited when I get to see you. I think the last time I saw you, where were we at?
Oh,
it was Easter Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we was at passing through.
We were downtown at a restaurant on Easter Sunday, and you had your beautiful daughter with you, trying to. It was so crowded. How old is your daughter now?
She's 15.
15. She's absolutely beautiful. And when I saw her that day, I was, oh my goodness, she can't be that big already.
They say
you have my sympathies.
No. My daughter is amazing. To reading out everything that she has going on right now is like you would think like she is a CEO of some Fortune 500 company. Like she is pretty amazing. I think the direction of parenting, me and her mom, I think that's helped, and then to a great extent, the community of folks that we around us, and what she's been exposed to and been able to see, and she's been able to travel. So it's like my daughter is,
she's the bomb.
Yeah, she is. I love the fact we get to collaborate because she's a filmmaker too.
No.
And so like,
well, the reason why I was giving you my sympathies is because she's so beautiful. I'm afraid that all the guys, I know she's amazing because I know her father.
Yeah.
And I don't know her mom, but I know she's got to be amazing too. But I absolutely know she's beautiful. And so that's where my sympathies, and you still have them.
Well, no,
you're gonna have to fight.
I feel for them. No, I know that.
Oh, there you go.
I know her mama, and I know the community of folks around us. So
that's right. And you pity the fool, huh?
Yeah. So whoever it is, they better come with it. They better
come with it. I know that whoever they are, they'll be awesome too. I know. I just know she's going to attract somebody really special. But anyways, we're talking today to the great Kendrick Dial, spoken word artist. And as BJ was saying, you're also a community activist, so many things you do. And so tell me what the people want to know is how you started this journey with spoken word and where you are today. Where did it begin?
Got you. So actually, man, it's been quite a while. I remember I was in the Navy. I've always been a writer. For whatever reason,
Mm,
uh, so my grandparents, I grew up in Dallas. So my grandparents, they stayed on this street, and at the end of the street was an elementary school called Paul Lawrence Dunbar. And for those that don't know, he's a poet. And so for whatever reason, that piece, it just always stuck in my head. I never really connected it much later. I would write. I enjoyed writing and whatnot. And then my first year in the Navy, I was just, dealing with a lot. It was a way of me kind of
mm,
processing, the cultural shift, I was, 19, 20, so I'm growing and being away from family. I like stationed in Japan and all these good stuff. So I was feeling a lot. And so writing was kind of what helped me. And I would email, different poems back to my people in Dallas. And I just got a lot of encouragement to just keep going. And so when
mm,
I finally got to San Diego, I made it my mission to kind of really seek out open mics. And I started doing poetry at church and for different services and stuff like that. So it really kind of, came out of that particular space. And, San Diego has a very vibrant spoken word scene,
mhm.
poetry community. So around that time, there was the 504 Gallery, there was Claire de Lunes, there was the Poetry Slam that would happen, I think, kind of on the outskirts of downtown. So it was a lot of different things. And then I collaborated with a group of poets, poetry lovers, community activists, and we formed Collective Purpose. And so Collective Purpose, myself, Chris Wilson, Rudy Francisco, Ant Black, uh, Jessica Molina, Viet Mai. So we all came together, and because another thing that was happening was the venues were or places for poetry were getting shut down, or just the
Mm,
fact that people. It's one thing when you do a certain artistry, and there's other people that are just putting on the shows, and sometimes there's a disconnect in terms of at least respecting the talent or being able to have a show organized with that perspective in there. So we came in together under that perspective and started Elevated, and we ran for a good 10 years. But then on the other side of that, slightly before, uh, I was doing poetry at 504 Gallery. My buddy Melvin Parker, uh, he approached me, and we started doing more of a Christian-centered spoken word event, a live music event called the Psalmist Hour. And so
oh, wow.
we did that for a number of years, and that overlapped with Elevated. And so that was kind of my genesis of even getting into this whole entertainment and performance space. Uh, and then Lyrical Groove was born out of my Collective Purpose brethren getting together, and we were asked to we would do collab ensemble pieces. So me, Rudy, and Ant, and we got asked to do the uh, Indie Fest,
Oh, wow.
one of the stages, and it's outside stage. So we used to doing poetry, everything centered upon the words. You're hanging on the words,
In a
and we
dark room.
right, yeah, candle leg, all that good stuff, and you trying to do like outside in the middle of the day, it's festival without people. So it was like, okay, if we're gonna do this, we need to have some music or something just to. And so
Mm,
we had a few musicians kind of sit down and vibe out with us, and I kind of took the band leader approach and organized the musicians and whatnot and the poets and just kind of synergized it. So when we got a chance to do what we do, we just kind of happened and it came together. And so from there, the transition goes, Rudy starts touring. So those that know Rudy Francisco, he's a renowned poet. He's been on Jimmy Fallon a few times and tons of other stuff. So he's all over the place. My brother Ant moved back up to uh, San Bernardino, Paris, California area. So it just made, in terms of trying to do shows, a little bit different. And then my good buddy GK, uh, who wasn't even, this is an interesting thing, he wasn't even playing at the time. Like he would kind of follow the drummer that was working with us, Kevin Henderson. He would just kind of study him, from the side and whatnot. And when that happened, we just talked. He was like, "Yo, we want to do this." And so he went out and got a drum set, and that was kind of like the the thing that really kind of kicked us in. And then keyboard player that we played with, Roger Smith. His brother happened to move in town. And then there was another, Daryl Pretlow was bass player. So we all got together and was like, you know what, let's do this. And we did our first gig and it was like, oh wow, we could really.
Is that when you determined that you were going to be called Lyrical Groove then?
Yep. That's when that kind of came. And it's been a journey ever since.
Wonderful. And you're not, I mean, as an artist, you're spectacular. You guys have been recognized, in San Diego, as BJ was saying, with the San Diego Music Awards, and people really love what you do. And you get lots of love in San Diego.
I received that. Yeah. It's when we did our CD release in 2015, our first CD release at the House of Blues, and just to see, like, every now and then I stumble over a picture, and just to see that night, it was like, just to see, I feel like the city showed up.
Yeah, you're like, that really happened, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
That really happened. No, people really dig you guys. And so whoever comes to the concert on Friday, if he's got a concert at the Museum of Making Music tomorrow night at 7:00 in Carlsbad. And if they come tomorrow night, they're gonna be inspired, and they're gonna feel good when they leave, aren't they?
Oh yeah, you're gonna feel real good. We like to take the journey and have some fun.
And you're very cool, Kendrick.
Thank you. You know what I'm saying? We vibe.
Does your daughter recognize what you do, how important what you do is? How does she feel about her dad being this artist?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to ask her that.
Okay, there you go.
Because I know she's like, my daddy, we can't go nowhere without my daddy knowing somebody.
I know.
Like, we always talking to people. So I know.
No, you're very well known in San Diego, and for good reason. Right, and we were talking a little bit before we went live about what you have done, and you were talking about how you were in the Navy, and how now professionally you're a social worker.
Yes.
Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
And how you also have done drug counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's get into that a little bit. I mean, you're this fantastic musician, but you're still so connected to people, and just, so tell us about that.
So my initial job when I was in the Navy was a radar technician, and what it helped me realize is that I didn't like working with machines. I'd rather work with people. And fortunately, I got a special billet during my last 3 years where I could be a substance abuse counselor. And that was a great moment because it allowed me to merge, my love for the arts and my love for mental health and, healing. And so I could do workshops, and I would bring in poetry and things of that nature. And so it just that's been like my space ever since, in terms of trying to merge, mental health, social justice, and the arts. And so my work very much is centered around that, because that's my livelihood, is my training, is my perspective as I'm looking at the world. And so the music that we create, it has these messages, it has these scenarios and these stories of these different dynamics, and hopes that folks can, connect with it from that standpoint, but also, get something from it and figure out what they can take with them along their journey.
How long have you been how long have you been a social worker? How long have you been that?
So been in the field, the social services field, since 2004. In 2013, I got my master's in social work from USC. They had a program in
all right.
Metro Bernardo. Fight on.
That's fantastic.
And so in 2016, I started, specifically my role as a social worker is actually I get to coach and train social workers. And so I really enjoy that space and helping to build capacity and help folks grow their practice.
Wow, that is so cool. So musically speaking, does that help you career-wise? I mean, I'm sure it gives you probably songs, because you see firsthand what's happening to people. So you go home, like, well, the guy said, I wrote a song about it. Want to hear it? Here it go. Remember him? But no,
but
but seriously speaking, I can imagine that that really does affect your music and your expression and what comes out of you, just from the seriousness and maybe even sometimes the funny things about, if there are any, there's got to be, to survive, you have to have all of that, right?
yeah. I think definitely so. Growing up in the world of poetry and like and always being very much an observer, right? Being able to see
Hmm.
things and even as a writer, taking things from that emotional standpoint. I feel like the music that's timeless is the music that speaks to the emotion. So it doesn't matter when you hear it or what exactly it sounded like. That's what takes us there. So in that particular space, that's just allowed me to really kind of tap into the range of experiences, the human experience, and what that looks like, and what the dynamics that we go through, through all these different levels of life. And so it definitely allows me to tap in from a real place of not only I think the other piece is like it's allowed me help me along my journey, right, and healing whatever I need to heal and trying to break
Mm,
through my own generational curses, so to speak.
wow.
So it offers a lens of me to create my own soundtrack to move through these things, because at this stage I'm really tapping into making the music that I want to hear. And so, folks will real quick say, no, they don't make no good music out there. It ain't nothing. And off top, there's tons of great music out there. You just got to
Absolutely.
know how to tap into it and where to find it. And for me as an artist, it's like if there's something that I don't feel that I'm hearing, then I'm privileged to be in a space where I get to create that and get to tell stories that I don't feel may be heard, or get creative in terms of expressing those things. So.
Expressing. Yeah, 'cause I think one of the things that the at the Museum of Music, I mean, they have some of the things that I've worked with them are things with music healing and music therapy. And so I remember just feeling that as a musician, you already know that music heals and changes and all those kinds of things. But when you actually see people take the music and use
Right.
it as medicine, you
Right.
know what I mean? It changes how you even perform. I mean, you're already a sincere artist and everything, but I think for a lot of musicians, and you can tell me if you agree or not, but I
Yeah.
think I think that the being aware of what people are going through and how the delivery of your music is changing what they're feeling and maybe even what they're going through, I think it changes how you perform and the seriousness with which you take your art.
Definitely. And I think I'm definitely still on that journey of finding exactly what that space is and looks like for me. Uh, but definitely, like the one of the greatest compliments I ever got was from this young lady, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And she told me, she was like, I did a piece, and she told me, she was like, you ever had a feeling like there's a hole in your chest and it's like, missing a piece of who you
Mm,
are. And she was like, you feel that hole with that. And I was just like,
mm.
damn. Like, so in the context of like the stories we tell, the things we speak about, knowing that it really has a space in the capacity to really help somebody find their way and give them a piece of light, when they may be in a very dark place. So and I don't take that.
Wow. Wow. No, I think that's the that's the gift and I hate to say curse because I don't like that word anyway, but you know how you say sometimes
Yeah.
something's a blessing and a curse, and it's like you get to perform and have fun and
Right.
and really vibe and and have a good time and everything, but then you also have that responsibility, if you accept it,
Right.
to know that what you're doing is, you don't get to just have this gift just so you can just, have a good time.
Right. Right.
You're also obligated to give back
Right.
to the community. If,
Yeah.
I guess you don't have to, but it's just so much more fulfilling and it completes what your gift is here for, don't you think? I mean,
Definitely. And for me, like I'm very much an educator. Like I went through the community colleges Sadiqa program, so I've taught at the community college level. I currently teach a history of hip hop class at San Diego State. And so in going
Wow.
through, like music class, and then when you do the homework and you look at, how the art is created, like a good deal of the art is coming out of these lively experiences where people have been downtrodden, or oppressed, or lacked a voice, or and they used it not only for themselves and their community as a place to find their own resilience, but they used it to communicate. They used it to send messages beyond, where we're at. So in that regard, like I sit in that seat as an artist of appreciating the artists that came before me that did those things and wanting to respect that.
So speaking of the artists that came before you,
Right.
who you good segue. There you go. He's a real artist. He even set up his own segment. You see how he did that, BJ?
That was the perfect segue. I don't mean to step back, but I was feeling everything that you guys were saying, especially about music filling that place, because we've recently all had a place,
Right.
we have a lot of struggles. But yeah, Deneen, that was a perfect segue. Awesome.
So speaking of artists that have come before, tell me who inspires you, just tell me who inspires you, who you like, who you love.
Gotcha. Well, I got a crazy list. So
I know.
So my go-tos, Outkast. I start there, and Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, like being raised in church, and those songs.
Hallelujah. Me too.
Definitely some maybe on the newer side, PJ Morton, Emily King. Like I love just what they do, what they bring to the table. Scarface, in terms of hip hop, because I grew up in the South, and just that storytelling, that flow, 8 Ball, MJG, those type of artists. And recognizing, and I think even then, in terms of recognizing the need for the storytelling for a particular community, because everybody, you listen to it on the outside, you may not understand it, but when you're a part of that community, you can really identify with it. Gil Sky Heron is someone I found later on, and seeing some of the similarities in terms of his approach and my approach to music and poetry. Lauryn Hill, of course.
Of course. I was waiting.
Breezy was here, she would have started off with Lauryn. My boom, Erykah Badu. She's the hometown.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So definitely that soul, some hip hop, a little bit of everything, digging into jazz. Like when I was about 21, I used to Columbia House, 13 CDs for a penny, and that allowed me to kind of start digging into Baker and
you aging yourself, you know that, right?
Well, I'm all right, because you know what?
You don't care, me either.
You might not know it. If I'm out here like Deneen, I'm like, hey, because we look at you, it's like, look at your kids. I'm like, how old these kids are here?
Exactly.
You look like you should be running around here with a toddler.
Oh, well, thank you.
But yeah, so those are definitely some of my favorite artists.
It's interesting too, like when you mentioned Lauryn Hill and Erykah Badu, there's something more than just the lyrics. It's the whole vibe about them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Every time I hear an Erykah Badu song, I don't care how old it is.
Right.
I could maybe not have heard a song from Erykah Badu for like 2 years, and then Erykah Badu song, and it'll just instantly you're like, oh man, this is so good.
Right. And to that point, I didn't realize. So like within the last few years, I've really gotten into production and producing. And so what I didn't realize, I just read Dilla Time, which is a book about Jay Dilla. I didn't realize how influenced I was by him and whatnot. And so just even like adding him to that list of inspiration in terms of like his production and what that did for that sound of soul and everything.
I think the discovery of like there are a lot of people that don't really know your style, your kind of music. They're going to get a really special treat because one thing about the museum is that they have, there's lots of members, that all love all different kinds of genres of music. And so they're going to get a really special treat. And for those that don't know, they're going to get a great introduction into, many, many different ways to go musically. You're like, oh, one thing leads to another thing. And then you realize how connected so much of that is. Because when I hear your music, I hear jazz influences, I hear the hip hop, I hear everything. And that's one of the great things that's going to be for you too, just the exposure, that you get at the museum. But the people that come to the concert, I think they're going to be, they're going to learn a lot, don't you think?
To that point, I think just that space of when I think about the poetry, everything that comes together. So actually, to that point, I'm gonna let y'all in on something we're doing tomorrow. So in the midst of the set, and I just kind of came up with this, in the midst of the set, we do tons of references to other styles and other, pieces of music and other things and stuff like that. So we're gonna do like a little sheet, see who can catch whatever vibes go along the way and whatnot. Because we're gonna drop some nuggets of some other songs. So yeah, I'd be curious to see who can catch all the different references.
Wow, I know that's going to be special. When I listen to you guys too, sometimes I think about Miles Davis when he kind of did that transition. I mean, he's fantastic at he was fantastic at absolutely everything he did. But then how later in his life he kind of went a little bit to a more a different sound. I don't even know how you would classify it. Maybe you would, but it was more, to me, it sounded more of that neo soul kind of exploratory jazz and it's he was so innovative and so ahead of his time, I guess you could say, and it reminds me a lot of what you do.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna just receive that right there. Anytime you can put me in the boat of Miles Davis, anybody like that, I'm gonna just appreciate that.
You're gonna say thank you.
I'm gonna say thank you. But I think to that point, it's also a space about just allowing ourselves to explore and not put boundaries about what it should like or what it can or cannot sound like. And I think to a certain extent, I'm so happy that I was just willing to go along this journey, even though I didn't know where it was going, how it was going to end up, or what it was supposed to be, but just willing to go and just see where it takes and find the different ways and the different nuggets and, try glue pieces together and see what stuck. And if it didn't, just keep going and try the next thing. So very much has been a delightful journey.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way of looking at it. It's like, where are we going from here? How do we expand even more, and learn. One of my mentors, Kamal Kenyatta. Yes. Every time I tell him about an artist, he has some story, some inside information story. And no. And I just sit there and I'm just like, I didn't know that. And I wonder how many other things there are to know. I know there's tons and tons and tons, but I feel like this musical journey, like, that you were talking about and that we're talking about, is that it's ever expanding and that there's always another twist and another turn and things that you don't know, and then you find out and you're like, oh, wow, it's just, we're always just learning.
Right. Be it, from an artistic standpoint to a business standpoint, I think that's been a big piece of my journey as of late of really trying to understand the business dynamics and how do you own that power and move forward and make opportunities happen, and instead of necessarily having to wait. Like
the business side of things.
Right. Yeah. I actually just finished a music business course with this artist by the name of Nicole Buss. And great insight, and it was a great community of folks. But it really helped lay out some foundational things that I wish I would have known a long time ago.
Learning the hard way.
But right, bumping head and all that good stuff. But we're here now, and I'm and so I'm happy to see, to that point of what's next and going to the next level or whatever that looks like, and deciding what that can look like for me. Because for me, kind of going back to the social work, that's very much a part of my experience in terms of feeding my creativity, but also feeding me to like connect with the people who really impact, who can really be impacted. Because I think that's the other thing that I've learned along the journey is I don't necessarily need the whole world. I want the people who really connect, who could be impacted by that. And if I'm doing that, then I'm connecting with who I need to connect with. So in that same space, people play these, bigger shows at times, and it's like they didn't come to see you. So, they doing whatever they doing, as opposed to maybe it may be a small audience, but when they're in there for you, it's a totally different experience.
I love small audiences. So, I mean, I know we as artists, we want to get the butts in the seats. I get it. It's definitely a numbers game. But oh man, the small intimate groups, I love that stuff.
Yes.
That connection that you have with the audience.
Right.
So speaking of the future and what comes next and all the things that you've learned, what comes next? What's next?
Right. So on one hand, like I have tons of music. Like ever since I've been able to get into the production space, it's just really opened me up as a writer, and I'm developing my ear as a producer more and stuff like that, and some of these wonderful collaborations I have. So definitely to just I just want to build a catalog and to be able to share that. But then, I would love to get out the city, get into some other places. I'm from Dallas. I haven't had an opportunity to perform.
You still got family back there? Your family still there?
Yeah, my mom, sisters. That's my tribe. And then, just I have a wonderful community of folks back there too. But then just getting out into some other places, would love to be able to do that. And then just continue the space of exploration. I think there are some collaborations I would love to do. Hey, PJ, hey, Emily, hey, y'all do. If y'all come across this, I'm calling you out. Erica, Lauren, whatever.
Right.
Y'all at.
You never know.
But yeah, some collaborations. I was fortunate enough to actually get some music into a film called Follow Her last year. So I'm definitely want to get more into that space too. But then I would really love to get more into some artist development and education, because I know tons of people who, artistically, they find the space and they want to do it, but it's just a hard and my journey of being able to appreciate what it's looked like, because I think the overnight success perspective is like
it's not happening.
And so right, it's not that. And to know that there's so much as great as you might be, there's so much more to learn and grow from. And then, but where the space I've been in as of late is just really how to appreciate the journey. Like when I went to ASCAP years ago and tried to do the listening, and they was like, "What are you doing? We don't understand this. Like this is," and to know that now especially when I look at an industry, like you see so much more of it, right? And to even see like Tank and the Bangers and see what they're doing and knowing that they come from the same poetry community that I do, it's invigorating. So in that space of like moving forward, definitely helping to educate artists and help people understand like what does it mean to make a living in the music, because everybody doesn't need to be Beyonce, right? and you can do it. I know so many amazing artists who make a living off their music. And so how do we educate folks in terms of how to do that in a real way and get the business piece down? And
the music industry is so different now. It's totally different. It's than the old days when you would be with a record company and you did everything's different with the streaming, and it's just totally different now. So you're right. So the education is super important. So tell us about, the concert is tomorrow night. Again,
yes,
at the Museum of Making Music, 7:00. That's May 20th, Friday, May 20th. Kendrick Dial and Lyrical Groove. So who is in the group? Who are you bringing with you tomorrow?
So as always, my stage ace, Risa Rorin. It's gonna be. She'll be making sure I roll the R. Rorin.
Get it right. Get it right.
So, right. And tomorrow, band wise, because I kind of describe, the band now is kind of like a snarky puppy. It's like a community of folks. So whoever you can get at times. But tomorrow I have my main man Shadi G on drums, Rashad. Then I got my man Joe on bass.
Very nice.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Joseph J Mad, he's on bass. Chris Black, he's on keys. Louis is on guitar, and then Abe Majors is on percussion.
Very nice. Well,
so we
I know we are. I'm coming to your show.
Oh, for
yes,
sure. Okay.
I might have the same dress on, so don't say anything.
Don't you? Because I might have the same outfit on. Want there to be some continuity with the video.
It's like, remember the interview? This was us. I'll be there. I'm bringing my sister with me too. So, we're super excited. So tomorrow night. So before we go, I wanted to send a special thank you to Carolyn Grant, who's the executive director over at the Museum of Making Music. She is an incredible woman, and I'm glad to say she's my friend. She's so forward thinking in terms of how to open the museum up to people. They do so much work in terms of spreading music and also helping musicians, kind of like what you're talking about, the education of musicians. And they just do so much. Some things they can't even tell you that they do because it just goes into so many important areas. But I wanted to thank her for what she does and for opening up to San Diego musicians that maybe wouldn't get a chance to playing at the Museum of Making Music. That's big stuff, man. Nam is right upstairs.
Right. I applied for a job with y'all some time ago. Just putting that out.
You might want to reapply now.
You know what I'm saying? You got some positions. Let me know.
No, the music, everybody. BJ, who's down there. BJ is, oh my gosh, he's a great sound guy, tech guy. Now he's a video guy. He's everything, and such a great person. We really love you, BJ.
Oh, thank you.
And also Jillian down there. And I hate to start calling names because you always forget somebody, but the whole purpose that everything they do is to promote music in the most positive ways and give opportunities to kids to learn. It's just the most fantastic place. And so I'm really glad that they got connected with you and that you're going to be performing. That is going to be good for everybody involved.
Yes. Well, I'm thankful to be able to be here. Shout out to Kamal because he definitely put us in the mix. So I'm thankful. Yes. So, and even like that, I think that's another dynamic of that I appreciate about San Diego. There's so many amazing folks who've done so many amazing things. And I think that's also the responsibility of the artist is to kind of dig into, and knowing your craft, knowing the people, knowing what is around you, so to speak.
That's exactly. There's so much talent in San Diego.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I remember back in the olden days, San Diego was a place where people, it was kind of like a throwaway place. Nobody thought about anything about San Diego. And then they would be like, oh, you got to be in LA. But, so many of the people in LA were from San Diego just like 5 minutes ago. Now they're, so they're really, you know what I mean? Oh, they're in LA. Yeah, but he's from Chula Vista. I went to school with them, And now he's from LA. There's nothing wrong with that. Be from wherever. But San Diego has great talent.
Right.
And a great community. And as you were saying about Kamal, there's no better example than Kamal. And I'll tell you this really, really quick because we're ready to go. But the story that he told me. So Toots Tielemans, who's the world famous harmonica player, Quincy Jones had him on Back on the Block. I mean, they worked together quite a bit. Kamal got in my car and he was on. One of his songs was playing, and then so Kamal goes, "Oh, Toots Tielemans." Said, "Did you know that his name Toots?" He said, "That means beggar. He was very poor, and the nickname Toots was what people called him because his family was so poor." And he started playing the harmonica, and they thought it was a toy. So every time he would bring the harmonica, they would say, "Get that toy away from here." So this is the story Kamal's telling me, talking about San Diego talent that we have. And he says, and did you know he was a world famous whistler? He said all the whistling that you hear from probably like the late 50s up until like the 90s, the Irish Spring whistle, that's Toots Tillyman. He said the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know, woo, wah, 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 that's Toots.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable. He's telling me all these stories. I'm like, I didn't know any of this. And I felt bad, because I felt like I'm listening to this man who's amazing. Obviously, I did recognize that, but there's so much more to him. It's such a deep story. And that's why I love music. That's why I love what you do and what everybody does, because what you see on the surface, it's like the iceberg. There's just so much more down below. And so you want to hang around. To see things develop. That was a long way of saying we're going to have a good time tomorrow night.
Well, I have to give a shout out to Kamau too, because I mean, he sees not only he's a wonderful human, but he recognizes. I mean, he sees things that no one else sees, and finds finds that beauty within, and just helps it bloom and supports that, and then he brings them into the community. He brings them into the network. We would have never met half the artists we have without somebody who recognizes the artists and their uniqueness, and making those introductions, saying this person and this institution need to come together to be able to become more than they are. So I mean, without him, right, and it's people like him who make everyone better and lifts everybody up and helps us grow. So
absolutely.
I'm so glad. I'm happy to shout him out whenever I can. So absolutely.
Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to the concert tomorrow. BJ, did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
Everything this was an amazing conversation. Everything you say was like hit me right here, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so. It was on every point was perfect point, and I'm so glad we were able to cover and discover. The only thing I have to say is just getting people excited about tomorrow night. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and throw us over to our little upcoming calendar picture with what I learned was a very outdated picture of the Lyrical Groove. So I apologize for using that picture.
We got to get some new ones.
We will have. I tell you what, we're going to have a photographer tomorrow night, and she's wonderful. She is wonderful, and you will have all of those photos to use and do whatever you need to with them. So
thank you.
I'm gonna switch over to the calendar and the very old picture, but it's relevant because it's the artists. Tomorrow night, San Diego Sound Project. This whole project recognizes not only up and coming artists, but those artists in San Diego who are making a vital impact to us. And so we're very excited to have the Lyrical Groove as part of that program, and that's happening tomorrow night, May 20th, 7 p.m. You can get tickets if you want to come see them in person. Get tickets from museumofmakingmusic.org. You can order those. And then if you can't make it to Carlsbad or to San Diego or to California in general, but you still want to come see the show, we are streaming it because that is something you need to do nowadays. And it is free. If you are wherever you are in the world, come see the stream. But you have to RSVP on our site, and then we'll send you the link as soon as you get your RSVP taken care of. So again, museumofmakingmusic.org. Sign up for the concert, and if you can't attend the concert, sign up for the stream. And if you can't attend the stream, at least share it. I think we got some links out there. We'll make sure that as many folks know about this program as possible. And other than that, I mean, that's all I had to share. I mean, we need butts and seats, but if you can't get your butt and seat, get your butt in your seat at home and watch it too. Wherever you are. So anyway,
that's my motto: butts and seats.
Butts and seats,
whenever possible.
But I appreciate you all, and then there was you were talking about something earlier, and it how it related to the museum, like how the museum is doing programs that help connect people. We have an exhibit coming up, and you might be interested in it. We're just wrapping up a photography exhibit about Les Paul, but the new exhibit we're opening up is called What Good is Music? Not what music is good, but what good is music? And so what we're doing is we're engaging anybody who comes to the museum and asking them on a personal level, like, what good is music doing in your life? And then what good is music doing with those around you in your community? And then what good is music doing for the world? So we're really asking those people, everyone to think about what it means and how music is affecting our lives, and how to make that connection, hopefully take it to the next level too. So excited about that. I wanted to mention that before we headed out, because you guys had a conversation point that was I appreciate any time you give us props, because it means a lot. It means we're doing our job right. And
you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
You guys are amazing.
But that's coming up too, and we're excited about it. We've been working hard on it. Anyway, well, Deneen, Kendrick, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for everybody that joined us today. We didn't have any questions, but I mean, everybody's giving you props. Dee Wallace gives you like the high fives, and Kiyomi Tarver was giving you like stars. And then Maurice Almasi, she's going. She says, "I'm going." So we're all
nice.
We're getting everybody out there.
We're getting butts in the seats. DJ.
Butts in seats.
Butts in seats. Butts in seats. Everybody in the street.
Right. He's gonna. By the time tomorrow night, Kendrick is gonna have a whole poem.
Awesome.
About butts and seats.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and then everybody out there, have a wonderful day today. Take care of yourselves, and hopefully we'll see you not only tomorrow night, but also in the future.
Absolutely. Goodbye.